What those fish do, when you understand what's happening and how to fish them, if you have a run like this coming down and this is our bottom like this, and then you got a rift coming back like this, and this is the surface of the waters right here. All right? Here's just a typical hole. McGill hole. You guys all know where the McGill hole's at? Up by Orfino. You guys know where it's at? All you got to do is drive up towards Orfino this time of year and you'll see 20 guys standing there. That's the McGill hole. It's a big deep pool like this. What those fish do when it's low and cold and clear like that, they don't have tons of energy because they're cold-blooded. So what happens is they start piling up in these holes like cordwood because they're waiting for the water to warm up via runoff or rain, muddy up, and then they move forward. They don't like to travel when it's low, cold, and clear. Okay? How many times have you been out, say bass fishing or something, and a bird flew over and the weed beds went with perch and everything? Well, they saw that up above because it's clear. They're super spooky. They move at night. That's why night fishing, right? We all go down there and night fish. That's why it's productive. They're moving at night. So what happens in this cold water like this is they start to stack up in these holes, and they'll stack up in these holes literally like cordwood in there. And what they're waiting for is this river to come up via either they start to open up Dorshak Dam and flow water out of the North Fork, or the air temperature warms up into the 40s and it starts to run off and come up. And then they'll go as far as they can until they hit the next deep pool and they'll sit there. And this happens all the way from Lewiston all the way up to South Fork, 26 miles up to South Fork. Up there it's frozen right now, so you fish in the spring, but you fish it the same way. So this time of year when we're bobber fishing, we know there's a deep hole here. We want to be 8 to 10 inches off the bottom. There's less current down there. That's where they're hugging down. Now you'll see them throughout the day come up and roll. I've been told by biologists, well, they're doing that because they're trying to loosen up their skein. A buddy of mine says they're doing it because they're happy. I don't know why they're doing it. All I know is it makes me mad. Okay? But when you see those fish rolling, how many times have you seen it and they're coming up in the same spot? Now maybe this is a spot and it's 50 feet long and there's fish coming up here and there's fish coming up there and here, but they're all within a small window of this same spot. You see that, correct? Roll, roll, roll. That's an indicator to you of where you want to fish at. Down below this, there's something happening that you may not be seeing with your eyes. There's a current break due to a boulder. There's a depression that's creating a break in current. Those rolling fish, as frustrating as they are, they're indicators of where you need to start throwing. You may not get bit right away because they're up working the surface, but they're going to be back down there. So I always use those fish as indicators. Now when you get up there and you start hucking out, and the first thing you got to do is you just look out into that hole, and what I do, I've fished it enough, I know that this hole I got to be at 11 feet, so I'll go, there's 6 feet with my bobber stop, and then I'll go to 5 feet, and now I'm at 11 feet. Well, what happens if you're not familiar with the area? You can tell where the hole is starting to drop, right? You got rough water, and then it starts to smooth out, correct? Head of the hole. This is your aiming point. It's going to be somewhere up in here. And I always start at 8 feet if I'm not familiar with it. If I lose a jig, I lose a jig. I throw out, I cast upstream, I let it go, and I'm going tap, 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 and then nothing. And then I go way through here, and I get to the back, and I start going tap, tap, tap back in the back. Well, I don't want tap, tap here and tap, tap there. I want tap, tap in here. So what I do is I start stretching it out. Okay, there's 8 feet. I'm going to go 10 feet this time. And maybe instead of casting all the way up here, now I plant it right here, and all of a sudden I start going tap, tap, tap. And right through here, I'm just missing a little bit. I'm not tapping. And then as soon as I start tapping back here, I bring it in. Now what I've done is I've found the belly of this spot. I've found this depression. They lay in that depression, the water flows over them. They don't have to do hardly anything. You can see them on the underwater camera. They're not even swimming. They're just sitting there because they're built hydrodynamically correct. They can just sit and let the water flow around. So they're not dispensing any energy at all. So what you got to do is just keep going until you start tapping the bottom. And what this will do is this little run will get shorter and shorter on you. And you may be going, okay, I could go 100 feet down the river if I was 8 feet down, and now I'm going 50 feet at 12 feet. That's what you want. Because you want to be right down near the bottom, because that's where they're sitting at. Now, basically what happens, guys, these things aren't eating. Okay, they haven't ate since they entered the fresh water. In our fish, what is different about our fish, when you see steelheading shows and you watch them on TV and stuff and they're done over on the coast, those fish are coming into rivers that are 45 to 60 miles long. When they enter into the river, they're sexually mature. They're far more aggressive than our fish are. They run up, they do their thing, and they turn around and come back. You see them big, bright fish they're always showing over there? Our fish, when they come in, mature as they make their way up the river. So what's happening as that maturation is taking place, they're getting less and less and less aggressive. When they get towards the end of their life, when you catch them and they're towards the end, when they're getting ready to spawn before they close everything down, they have no scales because they've absorbed their scales into their body for any additional nutrients that they can get. It's crazy. There's nothing there. It's just slick. All right? So what happens when you're sitting in these holes like this, if I'm sitting there and cucumbers flying at me and I'm like, I don't like cucumbers, right? And then I'm sitting there and these turkeys bring in a zips and it goes floating by me. I like a zips. And my buddy and I always have a rule. We say you just hooked them when they were yawning, okay? Because steelheading is all about you found the right spot. Now you got to find out what do they want. Well, maybe the cucumber was you had anise scent on your jig, and maybe the hamburger was you had a little piece of coontail shrimp or something on there that they wanted. Now, steelhead jigs, I've got boxes of them. Like I said, I don't get heavy into it, but what I will tell you about the jigs, and we're going to get more into this stuff here, guys, and just the locational stuff, so don't sweat it. But what I want to tell you about the jigs, these fish are stacked like cordwood in there this time of year. Once you find them, if we get on a rock and we found it, and we got a couple spots and we're catching fish, McGill Hole is one of them. When we fish the McGill Hole, we fish towards the tail end of it, the tail out section. When you look down on there, you'll see a big old boulder, and then down below that, there's a beaver hut. You'll see the beaver hut and another boulder. Well, there's a seam that runs down through there. And what that seam does, if you ever watch me doing a steelhead show, I talk about natural funnels and finding a funnel. So let's just show you what that means. North Fork of the Clearwater, there's funnels there. Okay, we've got rapids right here, right? And we know we had rapids entering in at the top of this. Well, usually what happens is you'll have a whole group of guys right in here fishing. Down at the tail end of these, what you'll see is these fish come up, and you can watch them do it on a North Fork. When they're moving, they'll move through, and they'll just sit right here at the tail out. Now, there's two things that are happening. These guys throwing these big atomic floats, and you got 20 guys sitting up here, all this stuff going through the water. Well, what happens? These fish are sitting in here, and they just kind of back up. You can watch them on the North Fork. It is crazy. They just start backing up. Well, you got fresh fish coming in here, and they're just kind of laying in here, and these fish just back into the tail end of the hole. So we always generally fish at the back end if there's a bunch of people above us. They're throwing big bobbers. They're throwing, now I say big jig, that to me is a huge, ginormous jig. I don't use anything that big. That's a rock dancer. Probably a lot of you have rock dancers, throw rock dancers. Something you need to understand about the jigs real quick. When you go down to the confluence in August and September and you're anchored up where the two come together out there in front of the old lumber yard and whatnot, you can huck these all day long and you're going to catch fish. But what's the water temperature? Water temperature is warmer, right? When the water temperature is warmer, they're more active, they're more aggressive. We troll planer boards down there with jerk baits at 2.5 miles an hour. It's kicking the pants. But once it cools down, that's not going to happen. If you have this right here, and you're throwing this is what I'm throwing in the wintertime. And believe it or not, this one here is an 1/8 ounce. I throw a 1/16 ounce right there, which is even smaller. This is a Willis tackle jig. You can get it at Sportsman's Warehouse. Okay? When I do any seminar, when I talk about when fish are inactive and positive and they're feeding and they're neutral and whatnot, all it has to do with is their mindset. And their mindset's controlled by atmospheric things, is water temperature things. Steelhead don't feed, but there's still a process that takes place. When they see this big thing bouncing down in there, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to take it. When they see that little jig, let me grab it. That's why I didn't play soccer. When they see that little jig bouncing down through there, they're more apt to take it. It's a smaller offering. It's something easier for them to grab. They just open their mouth and take it in. This is a lot more work right here. This is not finesse. This is finesse. When you think winter steelhead bobber fishing, you got to think finesse. Something small. Do you guys realize what this is actually imitating right here? Anybody know? That's just basically an egg floating down. That's all it is. You know, you say, God, I wish I had a boat and I could go out there side drifting like those guys and they're using eggs. That's all you're doing with a float. And you can actually get a better float with a bobber than you can side drifting out of a boat if you do it right. That's all you're mimicking there is just an egg, guys. That's it. That's why the small size like that. Now, as to why they take eggs, some say it's a territorial thing. I don't want your genetics in here. That's why they grab them. Some say it's a thing of protection. They want to grab it and dispose of it somewhere to make it safe. Who knows? Nobody really knows a logical answer to that. But what it is doing is mimicking an egg, a single egg. Now, with your scents, here's what happens. Guys go out and they always say, well, what's the best color of jig? What are you using? What are you using? Guys, I've got a video over there I can show you when we pull out of here because I didn't want to bring the paint and stuff in here. I make all my own jig heads. Have you gone in the Sportsman's Warehouse and seen all those corkies that are in there? There's a bazillion of them, right? Way too many. Well, when they're side drifting, what does the corky represent? The egg, right? What does the yarn represent? The egg milking out, the sac breaking down, right? Well, same principle here. There's the egg, and there's the sac breaking down, right? I can take this jig head, and when we head out of here, if you want me to play the video for you over there, I'll show you how to make this jig head look like any corky on the market. And it's simple. You use a meat skewer and a little paint. You can make it look just like any corky out there. Steelhead, and the thing you got to remember with color, and here's a little breakdown for you with color. When you start out in the morning, if you get out there right at first light and you don't have good light conditions, you want something with glow, like a chartreuse green. I didn't have a small one of those, but like a chartreuse green head, that color, with some glow dots on it. And they say, Seth, I can't buy glow dotted. We can make them. I'll show you. It's simple. All right? The light conditions are down. Phosphorescence glows. Going to grab as much light as it can. Green is one of the colors that stands out the most in the water. The only color that surpasses it is blue. Blue cannot be absorbed into the water. The water cannot absorb it. Why does the water look blue? Well, it's a reflection of the sky. Well, yes, kind of, but when you look into a snowbank or a glacier, it looks blue. Blue cannot penetrate into water. That's why divers, when they go down 210 feet, everything appears to be blue because that's the only hue they're seeing. All right? The next hue above that, which dissipates at 180 feet at optimal conditions, is green. UV light can penetrate down and hit that green and make it show up. So anytime you have low light conditions, chartreuse with glow. If you got a little stained water, green chartreuses, they stand out because it doesn't take as much UV light to make it pop. Now what happens is, you're going to go down there, guys, I guarantee it. You're going to say, well, Seth said the glow and the thing, and we made the jig, and it was awesome, and we threw out, and you pulled into your spot, and you hook a fish. As soon as you hook that fish, I want you to, for the rest of the day, keep casting exactly where you caught that fish at. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but that's where they're laying at. They're laying like cordwood. If I threw here and it hit, and I made a run and I hit that fish there, it is my ultimate goal to throw right back there. You can stand on a rock, no exaggeration, 2 guys, 1 day. If everybody's hitting the thing right, you're going to get 11, 12 fish. Okay? If there's a spot where they're holding like that. And if you're catching 1, if you catch 2, you're in it. You're on it. All right? What happens is guys go, phew, phew. They make a couple, now they're not in here. Trust me, they're all through that thing. They're all through it. What happens is this. You pulled up and Seth said to do the chartreuse head with the glow, and I got it and I threw out and I hooked a fish. Now for the rest of the day, your mind is so confident with that little tiny green jig with the black hackle on it that that is the only thing that you throw. all day because you have confidence in it. All right? What I do as the light starts to come up, red goes down the least amount. 30 feet, red's no longer visible. It becomes just a shade of black. Okay? As the sun starts to come up, that green color now is extremely visible to them because you got optimal light penetration into the water. You can deter a fish and drive a fish off with a product that is too bright. Got to think finesse. So the next step would be to go to that orange right there. To the orange. It's less subtle. They don't see it as well. They can't see it from 20 feet away coming at them. They're not sitting there analyzing it. This just basically creeps up on them, then boom, it's there. I got to take it or not. All right? They can't see it from as far away. The sun gets up bright, middle of the day, fishing's horrible. Well, you obviously didn't make a change. In the middle of the day, when it's optimal conditions, it's bright, what we do is we'll go to a straight black, or we'll go to that white and pink that's so famous. White and pink is very natural looking. It looks like a true egg sac coming down through there. So a pink head with a white hackle. All right, float that down through there. It's natural. It looks correct. And all black. It just creeps up on them. They can't see it. Boom, it's there. As you go back down into the evening, we go to the orange and we go to the green. Now, throughout the day, if you're sitting on a rock and you're catching a lot of fish, I've seen it happen so many times. You throw out, you hook a fish, you make 2 or 3 drifts, nothing happens. Take it off. Now, Seth said I got to use orange, but I used orange and I wasn't catching nothing. And as soon as you tie on that pink or black, boom, you get a fish. Now, you catch that fish on black, and now Seth said the light, I got to keep throwing this black. There's nothing saying that you can't put that green back on and make a couple passes with it. Because what happens is they sit in that hole and they become conditioned to what's going by them. How many guys in the day change their jig heads up down there? Not very many, because you're confident in what caught them last week and you just keep hucking it all day. They're laying in there watching it pass by, pass by, pass by. When I can take a jig and paint it up to match anything, like a corky to paint it, you can just go through all day long. I mean, all day long you're constantly changing stuff out. And that's what's going to make you continue to catch fish. Now, the other thing you have to keep in mind is scent. Some guys say, I don't want to mess with scent. Now, I'm not talking about the scent on your hands. I am pretty religious about it, but not with steelhead as much as I am salmon. I like to keep my hands clean, but when I'm salmon fishing in the fall down in the reach, I'm constantly washing my hands. Steelhead, they aren't quite as fickle that way. But if you look in my box, I've got Mike's garlic, I've got Mike's anise, I've got Mike's shrimp, I've got Dr. Juice tournament steelhead trout, I've got coontail shrimp by themselves, and I've got coontail shrimp soaked in anise and shrimp oil. Then on top of that, you'll find a canister of pink maggots. Have you seen the pink maggots before in the stores? Okay, pink maggots. And you'll say, it's a Ziploc bag just full of this. Do you, what in the heck is he doing? Well, just as in color, I made the pass, and I was using anise or I was using garlic. Did I say garlic? Garlic's a good one, okay? And I was using that and nothing happens. I take that jig off, I put another jig on, and I put some shrimp on it. And I float it down through there. Just as they become conditioned, because they're smelling in parts per billion, just like I mean, it's not as acute as a salmon, but it's still acute, more than you and I could ever dream. They smell that scent, see that color, all of a sudden, new color, new smell. You get into a population of people that's crowded, and I started experimenting with this on the North Fork when it got to be more and more busy, crowded up there. You take one of those jigs, little jigs, you take 3 pink maggots and put them on there, and you'll be the stud of the show. Because nobody's throwing little pink maggots. They're back there wiggling around. They got a totally different smell that those fish haven't smelt before, and they're eating it. Okay? Example of how that works, salmon fishing. I read an article one time about using Preparation H. And not the cream, but the oil. You get in my salmon box, and there's a tube of Preparation H back there. Trust me, I'm not old enough to have those yet, so don't ask me, why are you home? Phew. It said when you're in condensed conditions where you got a lot of people fishing, to try it. So I thought, all right. I tried it and it worked. And I thought, okay, this is kind of crazy. What it had to do with, if you look at that Preparation H, not the white cream, but the ointment style, the clear stuff, It's got like 75% shark liver oil in it. That's a scent that's totally different than what anybody else is using out there. So it pays to be different. The moral of the story is it pays to be different. Different color, smaller stuff, different scents. Okay?